Hi, welcome everyone who's joining us. So we're here today for our final event of the year for Atto Accelerator. It's been an incredible year for 2020. So as you're joining, please leave a comment in the chat box to say where you're joining from. And if you're a founder or an investor or someone who's an ecosystem supporter, it's fantastic that you're tuning in today, and we're really pumped to hear from the teams and also Kate this morning. So it's brilliant. We've got to get our energy up because it's a bit of we've got a couple of hours to get through, but it will be super speedy. I recommend getting a coffee or a tea if you haven't already. So we'll also be taking questions as we go. So please make use of the Q&A function in Zoom. And we're going to really start kicking off early. I just wanted to thank everyone again for joining us today. So one of the things why we started Atto. So Atto is now a 2-year-old kind of startup educational program that's focused on female founders. So if you're new here, you might be wondering why Atto's come about. And really it's to showcase that there's multiple ways to build a successful tech company and to do that in a really sustainable and scalable and inclusive way. So this cohort, we've had incredible applications, and it was really hard to narrow down to all the founders that are pitching today. So even year on year, the applications were up 40%. And we're still receiving expressions of interest to join Atto's programs daily. So it's been incredible, and congratulations everyone for getting in this batch and finishing today, especially when it's getting near the end of the year. So we really appreciate it. And I just want to acknowledge and say thank you to Launch Vic for supporting our programs in Victoria. And then also AWS New Zealand that has helped launch in New Zealand and make the pilot happen there. So it's been absolutely incredible to see their support. So thank you. And a huge thank you to the educators, founders and teams for 2020. It was really, really great to just to have the educators back. Many people have returned from 2019 again in 2020. So we really appreciate it. So there's a bit of a run through that was sent through in terms of the program guide for today. We're going to kick off with a talk from Kate Morris, which we're really grateful to have today. And then we'll jump into 4 rounds of pitching. Then the judges will also stop after 4 or 5 companies and pass on feedback and ask questions. We are welcoming questions throughout for everyone today, so including the teams, and we'll be fielding a couple from the audience for each section as well. So please start asking your questions. And to start off with, I'm just going to spotlight Kate, because here we go. So thank you so much, Kate. I'll do a quick introduction and what a year it's been for you. So for those who aren't aware, Kate is the co-founder of Adore Beauty. So from its inception in Kate's garage in 1999, so a true startup garage founding story, Adore Beauty is now Australia's leading pure play beauty e-tailer, winning multiple awards and boasting the top beauty podcast in the country. Kate is a 2-time winner at the Telstra Business Awards and Women's Awards, and in 2017 was the first woman to receive the Industry Recognition Award for e-commerce at the Star Trek Arias. It's kind of like Arias, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Adore Beauty has been featured on Deloitte's Tech Fast 50 list for the last 6 years in a row, which is incredible. And in October 2020, Adore Beauty listed on the Australian Stock Exchange as ABY, or do you kind of say Abby?
ABY, yep.
ABY, setting a record for the largest Australian IPO by a female co-founder and CEO team. So absolutely incredible year. And I just love that you've gone from that. It's like the 20-year overnight success story, which is kind of what a lot of people think startups, it's, it's such a ride. But it has taken its time to get to the date. But thank you so much, Kate. So we'll kick off with a 10-minute kind of talk, and then we'll jump into Q&A, and that will take us through to about 11:30. So thanks once again, and over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Kate. I was really happy to be here when Kate invited me to present at the Atto VC demo day because I guess my journey has also been kind of non-traditional, I suppose, in the in the startup world. As you say, Kate, it's the 20-year overnight success, which I think a lot of people probably don't expect it in terms of that that traditional ride. So look, it's going to be sort of fairly organic today. So I'll just take you through a little bit of background on the Adore journey. Probably a lot of you have heard bits of this already, but just also to a few of the things that I've learned over that time that I think maybe might be useful to the startups that are here. So I guess we have to kind of go back to Adore starting in, well, if we go back to 1999, and you've got me as a uni student. Dropped out of law after the first week, decided that wasn't going to work for me, floating around doing a bit of arts, a bit of business, a bit of this, bit of that, but working on the clearance counter to pay my rent through uni, which for me was the funnest job ever, and I absolutely loved it. But I guess the thing that became clear to me through that job was that for a lot of customers, the experience of having to go into a department store and approach the beauty counters was pretty unpleasant and not very fun. And to me, that was really disappointing, because what I wanted for everybody to feel about beauty the same way that I did, which was that it was a way to, kind of give yourself a perk up on a day where you were maybe feeling a bit average and needed a bit of an extra lift, and, and that it should be fun and a thing that you can do whenever you feel like. It really is an act of self-care. But the way the beauty industry was kind of set up was like, let's make women buy things by making them feel bad about themselves, and then also making them run a gauntlet of very high pressure sales environment and a lot of limited information. And so I decided that there ought to be a different way of doing things. And after not having ever considered starting a business myself, and really actually just boring all of my friends and my boyfriend rigid with, talking about these ideas of what I thought a beauty website should look like, eventually my boyfriend said to me, look, are you going to do this or what? And that was the moment I became an entrepreneur, I guess. Borrowed $12,000 from my boyfriend's dad, which was enough to get a website built and buy a little bit of product. And that was the only funding we had for the first 14 years. So it was pretty limited. So it was very bootstrapped. I think the discipline that comes from bootstrapping is that you have to find that product market fit very early on, because if you don't eat. So there's definitely that urgency around making sure that you're finding a way to connect with your customers and to solve this problem for them and to add value in a way that becomes self-sustaining. And so Adore started very slowly and gradually, and with a lot of rejection from the beauty industry in particular, who didn't feel that online was an appropriate place to be buying premium beauty products. And also too, a lot of resistance from customers who in the early days didn't really get online shopping and what that was all about, and why on earth you would want to do it. So it was very slow, and it was just me in the garage packing up the orders by myself and schlepping them down to the post office in one of those little granny carts that you take to the markets. And there was no kind of one moment when it all just took off and I knew it was going to work. It was just every week you got a few more orders than last week, and this went on and on for the next, kind of 10 years or so. And then I kind of reached a crossroads where either I had a choice, and it was either to remain a small business and accept, growth of, 10 or 20% a year, because that was kind of all we could really fund through cash flow, or to put the foot to the floor and to kind of put all my chips back on the table and decide to go for something bigger. And so of course I went for something bigger and remortgaged my house again. I guess the challenge that I had was that I knew going for the bigger option would mean that I needed to raise some capital. But that I would also have to start down on that path of needing capital before I had the money. So I thought, okay, like I can probably fund the first year or so of that myself if I, pull some more out of the house. And yes, went through a very challenging round of trying to raise equity, where there were numerous times that my co-founder and I went out and sat in the car park, because we were in an open plan office, and so you couldn't have these conversations. You'd sort of do these ones, and we'd go and sit in the car and sit there and talk about the fact that we didn't think we were going to be able to make payroll next week, and that maybe it was all over, and we were actually, you know, and for us that also meant losing our house and everything. And so we'd sit in the car and cry for a little bit, and then go, okay, come on, let's have one last crack at it. Like, what can we do to try and get through to next week? And somehow managed to skate through. We ended up raising our first equity round from Woolworths, which was a 25% stake. And through the next 2 years, went on and tripled the size of the business. And then partway through that, realized that we no longer had strategic alignment with our investor, and that with a strategic investor, if you no longer have strategic alignment, then it blocks off a lot of other avenues. And so we actually went and bought back those shares 2 years later, and went on alone again from 2016 through to, towards the end of 2018, we decided, we knew that we were sort of reaching one of those crossroads once again, where we were going to have to make a decision about, did we want to go large or did we want to go home? As we used to say in Launceston. And again, said about that path of going and looking for the right partner to help to catapult our growth to the next stage. We ended up selling 60% of the business to Quadrant Private Equity, which was very scary for me, because I think one of the things that I'd really focused on through all of those years was trying to build a company that had a really strong and high performance, yes, but also really positive culture. That was something that was really important to me, that we built not just something big, but something good. And so that's a scary thing. You hear a lot of horror stories about private equity, and I'm sure lots of them are true. Did a huge amount of due diligence on Quadrant as a partner by speaking to probably 12 or 13 other founders of businesses that they'd bought a stake into and acquired, and in the end felt pretty confident about our decision and went forward. But yes, James and I still owned 100% of the business between us at that point that we sold down. And then 2020, and I guess at the start of that partnership with Quadrant, we'd made some plans about how an IPO would be the next transaction. And for me, that was, a lot of it, I guess, was about legacy and making sure that we protect Adore Beauty as being a positive and good thing, that our customers love, but also that our team loves, and that also supports, all of the suppliers in the beauty industry as well. And I think one of the things I realized after getting a few offers for the business along the way was that I couldn't bear to watch anybody else take it over and ruin it. So IPO was where we were going to have to go. And we'd set out some plans in terms of how big the business would need to be and when we thought that might happen. And then of course COVID hit, and the world went a little bit mad for a while, and we were all of a sudden our sales just doubled overnight, and then continued to grow. And then a few months in, we sort of realized that actually where we'd planned to be, that we were already there, and the IPO window was open, and it hadn't been for a while. And I guess if I've learned anything in 20 years, sometimes you have to take your shot, even when it's maybe it comes before you thought it would, but that we were going to go for it. And yes, as far as lockdown projects, I cannot recommend it. It was an extremely intense 3 months or so. Despite working from home, I really didn't see very much of my kids, but I swore to them that this is the one and only time I'm ever doing this. And once I do it, it will be done. Yes, and I guess here we are. And so I guess I wanted to share with you just a few of the things that I've learned. And I won't take very long, Kate, because I know we have to do questions as well, but just a couple of bits. One of the really important bits, I actually only realized this about a year ago, was that you know, I used to kind of get a bit disheartened from the times when things were really hard, and it felt like an absolute slog, and it felt like you were sort of wading through mud or pushing it uphill. And one of the things I realized, that actually it has to be hard. Every business has to have a really hard bit, and several really hard bits often, because that's where value is created. Because you have to be the one that slogs your way through the hard bit, or finds the path through where everybody else would give up. And to me, that was actually really somehow kind of encouraging to realize that, because now I know that when we have the hard bits, if we can push our way through them, then immense value is created from that part. And the other thing too, I think that I see a lot, and I do a fair bit of mentoring, is realizing that half of the barriers are in your head, and because it's the stories that we tell ourselves. You know, I'm not a born entrepreneur. You know, this whole imposter syndrome of I'm not good enough, and you know, everybody has that. By the way, everyone who's not a complete narcissist absolutely has that. You know, myself included. You know, I remember sitting there on the morning of about to, you know, virtually ring the bell for our listing. I thought, oh, I'm going to be sick. Oh, you know, it is, big things are scary, and you know, there's a whole idea of, you know, a lot of people ask me, oh, were you sitting in your garage, you know, dreaming about your IPO? And no, I wasn't, because I never thought, like, I never even entertained the fact that was possible, or that I could aspire that big, or that I could dream that big. You know, and why don't we let ourselves dream that big? You know, we should all, you know, particularly as women, be dreaming that big. You know, we should allow ourselves to have those dreams. And also too, if you don't want to be that big, like, that's perfectly okay. But I guess half the challenge is not already sort of doing the limiting of ourselves in our own heads, and allowing ourselves to define what success looks like. And then before we get into questions, I just wanted to share with you just a poem that I read yesterday. So sorry, just one second. I've got somebody else having a meeting in the same room. I just wanted to share with you a poem that I read yesterday that I actually just really liked. It just really spoke to me, and I thought I want to share with you guys today, because I hope it hits you where it hits me. But this is a poem by Rupi Kaur. They could take away everything we have, and we'd conjure this beautiful life up all over again with the bones in our backs. Building an empire from the ground up is exactly what we're good at. So I really love that, and I hope you guys like it.
Thank you so much, Kate. I just love that you're so transparent with your story as well, because I feel like, you know, most of the time when you're an early stage founder, you just see these incredible CEOs and you just think, oh, they've just had this company and it's been such
they've got it all together.
Yeah, they've got it all together. Like the fact that you're even, like, when you were ringing the bell, you were like still nervous then after all that success and where you've got to. So absolutely incredible, and really appreciate you always supporting the ecosystem and next generation of founders too. So we have a few questions. Marni's asked, what would you do differently if you could go back?
What would I do differently? Look, you know, on one level, I wouldn't do anything differently, because everything leads you to where you are, right? And I think, you know, I'm proud of where we are, and so I don't regret in that way. I think one thing I probably didn't understand early enough was the power of networking, and the fact that you actually can't do all of this by yourself, and you need to put effort and time and work, even if you're an introvert. In fact, especially if you're an introvert, because, you know, it's not just gonna happen. But you know, your networks is such a powerful asset, and it's something that's absolutely worth investing the time in.
And then we have a kind of combination question from Jen and Sarah about, first of all, what's next for Adore? When you talk about that big vision, are you still kind of going, okay, this is where we're going, might go international or anything like that? And then also personally, so what is that next big thing for you? And
oh gosh,
break in between.
Well, look, I mean, yes, I mean, we're a listed company now, and we've made promises to shareholders about what we're going to achieve, and it's, you know, it's very important to me that we live up to those. So that's, you know, and they're not small aspirations. You know, we want to be $1 billion company, and that's there's work to do to get there. And yeah, so I mean, look, you know, and all kinds of things that will involve. But really, we know how much Adore Beauty customers love that experience once they have it. There's still a lot of people who haven't had that yet, and are still, kind of shopping at department stores because they don't know any better. And we, as a bootstrap company, we never had the money that we wanted to invest in sort of brand awareness, and so we've still got some work to do there. But yes, I mean, look, there's lots to do, and world domination obviously has to be the next goal, I think. In terms of for me, I guess I think about the things that I'm really enjoying. We have an amazing CEO who's joined the business this year, Tanil. She's just fantastic, and I feel like that's one of the best decisions we've made, is to bring someone in who's just, I feel like every time you bring in somebody just really super smart, you kind of level up again, and we've definitely done that. But what that allows me room to do is actually just think. It's amazing how hard it gets to be, when everything's so busy all the time, to actually get space to think about, about what next and how else can we help our customers, and also too, how else can we help the community and continue to be, as a business, a force for good. I think there's always more to do there, and we've done a lot around sustainability and waste reduction and green power and that kind of thing, but there's more to do there, and I'm glad to actually have just a little bit more time to think about those things now that we're not doing an IPO in lockdown anymore.
Brilliant. So Rihanna has asked, if you were starting again today, do you think you'd do the same process? Would you kind of take more of an organic bootstrapped approach, or would you just go out and raise funding straight away because of the increased competition in the market?
Oh, I think it depends. I mean, it depends what business you're starting. I think, there's money and time as sort of two sides of the equation, and it really depends, like, is the market opportunity there right now, and is it ready? Because if it is, then yes, you need money so that you can go faster. If you see it as sort of an emerging market opportunity, then perhaps you have a little bit more time. And I guess that was the reason why Adore was able to bootstrap for as long as it did, was that, very much the market was still evolving. So it was okay that we took a bit longer. So I really think it just kind of depends on the business. I think if you're starting an e-commerce business right now, then yes, absolutely, you're gonna go as fast as you can. Like, there's no going slow now. Like, unless all you want to be is small. If you want to be big, if you want to own a chunk of the market, then yes, you have to go fast.
Okay, brilliant. And so we've got a lot of emerging founders or early stage founders here. If you can kind of think back into that headspace, what would you recommend as they're on the start of the journey, like a couple of pieces of advice?
I think so important is really understanding your customer and really focusing, just laser focus on the problem that you want to solve for them. I think if you can continue to do that, you will find your way. And so, and it's not to say that you'll necessarily get the solution right on the first time, but to really understand your customer and the problem that you're solving for them is absolutely fundamental. I still see, weirdly, like, a lot of big companies make this mistake where they do things based on what their competitors are doing, which is just a dumb reason to do it, right? Like, just do it because it really matters to your customers, or there is some problem that is not being solved within the existing landscape. That's the only reason to do anything ever. And the other thing that I would say is, yes, build your networks. And you guys are so lucky that you have things like this where it actually does network you in with a lot of founders who are, going through all the same crap that you are, because I never had that. It was really lonely. So, you need your people, and you need your tribe, and you need that support. And yeah, you guys are all in the right place. So well done.
Okay, I might sneak in one more question before we start to wrap up. But Catherine asked, so her company is 20 years old today. And then she said, any advice for a heritage brand on, I guess, scaling up now or leaving it to later to then start to ramp things up faster?
I think there's always an opportunity to scale. Like, it doesn't matter how long your business has been around for. the key thing is there a way that you can connect with your customers now that perhaps you couldn't before, and whether maybe that's access to funding, or maybe whether it's some kind of, product market fit that maybe wasn't there before but is now. Those opportunities are always still there. Like, I don't think it's too late, but yeah, I guess you do have to be honest with yourself in terms of, why haven't you scaled yet? Is there, are you not talking to the right customer? Is there something that still is not quite right in terms of product market fit? Is the pricing not quite right? Is the distribution not quite right? Yes, you have to think about why hasn't it? Is it just that you've been constrained by capital? Because if it's not that, you do have to be honest with yourself about that in terms of trying to get to the root of the reason why. And again, go back to your customer and understanding that problem that you're solving for them, because maybe there's insights that you've missed.
Well, thank you so much, Kate. Everyone, give Kate a huge thank you in the comments, or a little clap. The other thing is, I think it's all down to the Tim Tams. When you
it's not a small part of it, Kate. I have to say, yeah.
It's like IPO based on how many Tim Tams do you think you've spent over 20 years?
Thousands, millions, probably. Millions, actually, legit millions. Yeah, look, it's a thing. We tried to even joke about it last year. We did an April Fool's joke where we said, oh yes, we're choosing a healthier option for everybody. We've listened, and we're placing it with organic sultanas, and people lost their minds. We thought it was very entertaining, but we realise now how dearly our customers really care about chocolate. So now we know.
Yeah. My husband gets super excited whenever an Inco ordered, because he's like, oh, there's a Tim Tam for me. So I have to fight him for it. But thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So thanks so much again, and have a beautiful rest of the year, and looking forward to 2021 and beyond, and what happens next. So
my pleasure. Again. Good luck, everybody. Good luck with your pitches.
All right. Thanks, Kate.
Bye.
Okay, I'm now just going to move on to the judge introduction, and then I'm going to pass to Sian. So Sian is just a quick intro, our community director here at Atto, and will be leading us through the pitch sessions today. So thanks so much, Sian, for an incredible year as well. So we have three incredible judges. We've got Aprill Allen, who was here last year in person when we did our demo day. And Aprill has just got some exciting news, because they've just announced the launch of Tractor Ventures. And Tractor is a revenue-based investment alternative. And she's also the managing director of boutique consultancy Knowledge Bird. And she specializes in helping founders and enterprises deliver customer support and success at scale. So thanks again, Aprill, for coming back this year. Then we have Kylie Frazer. So Kylie's the managing partner at Eleanor Ventures, and she's a specialist capital raising M&A lawyer, and has been obsessed with the art of deal making for 20 years. She's founded 2 technology companies and has used this experience to help other companies secure funding and scale. And she likes to think of herself as an execution ninja, and is one of the straightest talkers in the game, which is why we're excited to have her here today as well. And then finally, Hugh Stevens. So Hugh Stevens is not only an incredible founder in his own right, he's now launched Galileo Ventures. And Galileo's mission is to enable first-time emerging founders to really succeed. So he's regularly saw as an underfunded and undersupported by the existing ecosystem. So that's why he's launched the fund. And after 3 years of raising, it's launched its inaugural $10 million fund in 2020. And so he's also the founder of Sched Social, which is a brilliant social media scheduling platform trusted by over 10,000 brands. So thank you so much, everyone, and good luck to the teams. And now I'm going to hand over to Sian. So Sian, where are you? I'll spotlight you.
If I talk, you can spotlight me easier. Thanks so much, Kate. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm very excited today, and I feel like a proud parent in a way. I think what these women have done has been amazing, and the things that they've achieved over the last 12 weeks has been really incredible. And so without further ado, we're going to have 4 or 5 pitches, and then we're going to have judges' questions. If you as an audience have any questions at all, feel free to pop them in the Q&A for the teams and just maybe write what team you have a question for, and we might be able to squeeze those in. So I'm going to invite our first founder to do their pitch. This is Vicki Likoudis of Advice Hero, and they do advice on demand for small local businesses. And so, yeah, Vicki, come on, share your screen. And I've got my stopwatch ready. They've got 2 minutes each.
Thank you, Sean. All good?
Good to go.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm Vicki Likoudis, founder of Advice Hero, an on-demand advice platform for small businesses. My background includes building and selling 3 of my own small businesses, mentoring business owners, and running a small business support committee for over 4 years. So what I found as a common pain point in all businesses was a struggle to know where to go to for specific advice. Wearing so many operational hats, owners are juggling many challenges, often compromised by issues they're unable to get clear advice on. When it comes to specific challenges, small business owners are often making decisions alone and hoping for the best. Of all Australian businesses, over 96% are classified as small businesses. 62% of those are sole operators. And the stats up until 2019 show that from the time a business launches, that within the first 4 years, 40% just aren't making it. We ran a survey with over 35 business owners, and 70% of those surveyed just didn't know where to go to, where to find advice. Over 30% were cash strapped and felt they couldn't afford engaging consultants. And then overall 95% were too time poor to find a way to connect with peers and advisors, which circles back to the point above, they just didn't know where to go to for support. Advice Hero is a platform set up to connect small businesses to on-demand advice. I started distilling the process of this specific solution 8 weeks ago with Atto. It will be available as a free aggregated platform offering relevant and practical resources, becoming the go-to place for information. Upgrading to a paid membership will give users the opportunity to engage with peers and advisors, both online and offline as a hybrid model. Online, we create a forum for on-demand advice. We currently have 8 advisors on board to help answer community forum questions. Offline, we facilitate meetups as the next generation members club for building relationships and opportunities for collaboration. Small business owners put so much on the line just to make their businesses work. Our mission is to make advice accessible and affordable, to facilitate connections with a community of collaboration, a thriving ecosystem of ideas and support. Please jump on the website and register your interest as an advisor. We'd greatly value your contribution to our Advice Hero ecosystem. Thank you.
Boom, just like that, opened us right up. Thanks so much, Vicki. And inviting the next founder to deliver their pitch, Patience Makuwira of The Beeline, and it's a professional network for women of colour. And we'll just take Patience off mute. Yep. Ready when you are.
Yeah. So hi everyone, my name is Patience and I'm the sole founder of Beeline Collective. At Beeline Collective, our mission is to build a globally connected community of women of colour everywhere and make it easier for women of colour to network and grow together. Beeline Collective was created and inspired out of my own personal challenges that I faced trying to find a support network with other women of colour to connect with. And after joining countless Facebook groups aimed at women of colour, as well as popular matchmaking apps like Bumble Biz, Bumble BFF and Hey Bina, I realised that these groups and platforms often miss the mark. The Facebook groups didn't allow for one-on-one connections and the apps didn't have many women of colour on there to begin with. This made networking hard and time-consuming. That's why at Beeline Collective, we're targeting modern millennial and Gen Z women of colour who often face the same problems. And within our target market, we've identified 2 main customer groups. First, we have the go-getters. These are ambitious, career-driven millennials. And then we have the tribe hunters. These are Gen Zers who are focused on hanging out and finding their tribe. There are 22 million of these customers in Canada, Australia, and the US combined. Our solution to these customer problems is to develop a personal professional matchmaking app. You can think of our app as the Bumble Biz and the Bumble BFF version for women of colour. Our users will be able to meet fast and make one-on-one quality curated connections, all in a safe and private online community that they can access anytime at the palm of their hands. Users will also be able to join in-app groups and communities based on their interests. We plan to generate revenue through a freemium business model by charging users for in-app purchases for premium features, and we'll also offer dynamic subscription models across various price points. And because we have a really niche customer segment, we have a great opportunity to work with advertisers who are looking to target our customer base. In terms of traction, late last month, we launched a sign-up landing page and we've had 60 sign-ups so far. Right now, I'm working in a small team alongside some other amazing women of colour who you can see up on screen. We're excited to see what impact the Beeline Collective app will have on disenfranchised women of colour everywhere, especially after what has been a catalyst year in the diversity, equity and inclusion space. So if you know any women of colour that would be interested in using that app, please feel free to refer them to our sign-up landing page at www.beeline-collective.com. Thanks so much for listening.
Wow, thank you so much, Patience.
I'm just going to share a screen. So hi everyone, my name is Pam.
And I'm Jenny, and we are the co-founders of Bubble Tea Club.
We're Australia's first DIY bubble tea kits for anywhere and anytime.
We started our business about 8 months ago during lockdown when we had time but no money to satisfy our own bubble tea cravings. On Uber, it was about $7 for a single drink, an additional $5 delivery fee. So we wanted to make it ourselves at home, but we couldn't find all the ingredients to taste as good as the shops.
This is pretty surprising to us. Basically, if you wanted a bubble tea, you can only get it from a bubble tea shop. And considering that bubble tea is a $2.6 billion industry, I think this proved to us it was extremely underserved compared to coffee or tea.
We sourced all our premium ingredients online, and we sold it online DIY bubble tea kits, and it went viral. We made it affordable, $1.75 a serve. We made it accessible, shipping Australia-wide. And if you live in rural areas like Pam, you can now get your bubble tea fix.
Thank you.
And we also have easy to follow recipes online as well.
So it's only been 8 months since we started, but we're pretty proud to say that we've delivered 21,000 DIY kits straight to Australian doors. We've had over 17,000 Instagram followers grow organically, but we're pretty proud of our 3,000 very active and extremely loyal Facebook community members. They even nominated us for a People's Choice Award, so it was for Retailer of the Year. And since then, we've had over 1,000 5-star reviews on our products. But most excitingly is that coming out of lockdown, we had our biggest month yet with a 25% revenue growth.
And we're just getting started. Our vision is to normalize bubble tea the way that you would consume coffee or tea. So it means the world to us and our bubble tea crew if you can consider bringing bubble tea to your next potluck dinner or the next Christmas party. We also included a promo code Atto at checkout so you can try it yourselves, because like most of our customers are hooked after the first sip. Thank you for your time.
Amazing. And under time. Well done. Inviting our final founder of this cohort, Jen Barnes from FemFit, a pelvic floor trainer that works. Here we go.
Sorry, mute button was stuck there. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer from Juno Fem. I'm the CEO. And 1 in 3 women worldwide suffer from urinary incontinence. And they actually do this in silence, generally not seeking professional help, and simply managing the condition by avoiding problematic activities or using pads. And the education around the condition is also really poor, with many women not realizing that 7 out of 10 sufferers can actually resolve their issues with effective pelvic floor muscle training. But there's nothing intuitive about using a set of muscles we can't see, and up to half women are simply using their abdominal muscles. There are no tools to teach you effective technique except visiting a healthcare professional, and then you go home to do your exercises and you have no idea what you're doing. So simply, women manage and healthcare professionals are frustrated. And that's where we come in. We've created the FemFit, a medical device designed by clinicians to meet the needs of both the woman and the healthcare professional. We're the only soft, flexible, wearable device on the market that provides a pressure profile along the entire length of the vagina, showing the woman in real time her technique and the pelvic floor contraction in pink versus abdominal in blue. It teaches effective technique to give lasting results and allows women to return to problematic activities. We've had over 200 women use the FemFit to date, and of those surveyed, 90% would recommend it to a friend. We've sold a limited release campaign across New Zealand and Australia, attracting over $40,000 of revenue. And we currently have 5 clinical sites across the 2 countries using it in their patient management. We have strong IP on the technology as well as the brand across multiple countries, and really importantly, regulatory approved as a medical device in New Zealand and with the TGA in Australia. We've also just signed an MOU with the largest distributor in Australia, servicing pelvic floor specialists. We are currently doing a capital raise to support a full market launch in 2021 of a minimum of 500 that's looking to be fully subscribed at the end of the week. And importantly today, I'm hoping that anyone with contacts in the medtech or have scaled a medtech product, I would love an introduction. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jen. So now it's come to the time when we ask the judges for their feedback. I'll ask you just to ask any of the company's questions. And we've got about 13 minutes for this section.
Okay, well, I'll go first. I've got a question for Advice Hero. First of all, I was interested, like, great problem domain. As a sole consultant, this has been my life for the last 10 years. So I do know exactly the problem you're talking about. So my question for you is, what about market leakage? So you've facilitated that connection on your platform, and how are you thinking about the connections that will start going outside your platform?
So thank you so much for that question. Didn't have time to really go into it during the presentation, and not as relevant then, but relevant now, is I'm on the second iteration of the product itself. So the first iteration really changed because of that very reason. And the first iteration was a connection, a controlled marketplace whereby we would facilitate that connection. And therefore that problem was much more pronounced. So with this community-based forum, we're looking at minimizing that leakage as much as possible. But as you know, that leakage exists in bricks and mortar style small business or online. So I think that you just need to incorporate that as part of your revenue and as part of your mitigating risk component. Still really early stages in terms of this current iteration and fleshing that out. So there's been a bit of work on the back end, but that is at the forefront of how we mitigate that. But you know what, ultimately, I just want people to be able to find the advice that they want. And I think that if I can really address that in the best way possible and make that possible, then everything else will fall into place. But it's a good question.
Yeah, great answer. Thanks a lot.
No
worries. While I've still got the microphone, I just want to congratulate Patience and Lucy. Great businesses there. I love that you're getting some traction already with Binder in particular. I think there's some potential there to build some community or leverage the good karma networks that exist on Facebook for that. Bubble tea, I also think that's a genius idea that you've had during COVID. My kids love bubble tea. I'm wondering if you've got something available for Christmas. And I had a question for FemFit about there is a competitor on the market. Let's face it, I am in the target demographic.
Likewise.
And a competitor has been coming up on my social feeds just by nature of the algorithms. So I just wanted to ask you about how you differentiate from like PeriFit is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm well aware of PeriFit, and LV is another. And they're fantastic. They're great sales and marketing machines, as evidenced, and they're in every single one of my feeds every day. And they're really good, but ultimately what they don't do is they don't give you that distinction of the different muscle groups. And so what women find is ultimately you might get some improvement because you're using your pelvic floor, but you're using your abdominals equally, which can actually exacerbate the condition long term or just not solve it. And so they register any contraction as a movement. They have an accelerometer like a Fitbit, and basically in theory, if you're using your pelvic floor appropriately, it lifts. And so it measures it. But if you're doing the wrong contraction, it still says you've done something. And so you don't get that visibility. And so the way we're going to capitalize and get the message out there and educate the difference is our first go-to-market strategy in Australia in 2021 is really focusing on our clinical referral market to really build that difference of the granularity of information, essentially. And then ultimately it is a direct-to-consumer product, and we have a Shopify site now, but we really want to leverage the testimonials and the brand by showing that that's actionable information that teaches long-term technique. And ultimately, we had 70% still leak-free a year later.
Okay, cool. Thanks very much.
Jen, can I just jump in while you're there? Nice to meet you. Sorry, everyone, that I was a little bit late. I had a previous engagement. I didn't actually realise it was in real life, because 2020 we just assumed that we're all back to back on Zoom. So I missed the early ones. I will catch up. Apologies. But Jen, I was curious as to why you defined your market segmentation as incontinent women, because surely this product would have application for every woman that has had a baby, or any woman that, you know, just wants to increase, you know, their muscles down there for, you know, for pleasure.
Absolutely. It will help other conditions, and in our limited release, it's quite clear from the data that some women have no issues and they're still using it. So there's absolutely kind of the word well, and just general fitness, right? It is general fitness. The reason we focused on incontinence is the company has grown out of a university project, which was specifically designed by clinicians to treat incontinence specifically. So it means that the studies and everything that it's been used in, there's a real clinical bias of the team at the moment that's what they've used as the claims in the TGA. And we are a medical device rather than kind of a consumer good. And so it kind of just evolved that way, but we are doing many studies to show basically general fitness, as well as we're hoping, we have a study going on in the UK where none of the other ones at the moment can be used while pregnant. And we're doing a study in pregnant women. So we're looking to continually add to what we claim, but given the clinical bias of our team at the moment, the sales and marketing side of it, they just really want to focus on that niche.
Okay, but when you do launch, will you be trying different things?
Yeah, so what part of this seed round we're using to look at some target segments, because 1 in 3 women, it's how do you effectively market to that mass? And so we have some key groups that we want to target, and we're doing some keyword testing and SEO to look at the best channel to market. So maternity is a big one for us because childbirth is a risk factor. Menopause is the next one, also a risk factor. And then just fit, for want of a better word, a fitness category of active women going to the gym, wanting to return to running, but unfortunately leaking and having issues. So we are looking at segmenting the market and then also adding to the claims. The most exciting studies happening in Melbourne at the moment for me personally in looking if it's using our device can help with the pain associated with endometriosis. So we are looking to expand, but we really want to make sure we're doing it ethically and we don't get into a peri-fit situation where we say it'll work, but we're not providing information that actually makes a lasting difference.
Yeah, I love it. Well done.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to say hello. Do I have time?
Yeah, go for it.
Someone nod, shake. Great pitches, everyone. Well done to the Atto team as well. Running accelerators is really hard, and participating in them is one thing. But then, you sort of multiply the challenges of every team across suddenly 10 of them, and it gets a lot more tricky, or even more than that. I guess I had a question, particularly, for the sort of the more marketplace-oriented things. But I sort of wanted to ask patients in particular in terms of Beeline, and is, I think one of the challenges with a lot of these networks that we're seeing popping up, the professional networks and all this stuff, is really always that question of, and I know Aprill kind of talked about it earlier, is that question of leakage and how you do that and how you kind of deal with that potential, I guess, multiplicativeness, for want of a better word, of things like Facebook groups and, all the existing channels already. And how do you sort of see you being able to create that sort of like enough of a draw card to pull people off those existing platforms and pull them out of those sort of like standard places that they're going back to all the time, to be able to kind of generate that value for your members?
Yeah, so I think with Beeline Collective, we're doing things a little different. Like if you look at Bumblebiz and Bumble BFF, they're just a networking platform that just allows for one-on-one connection. So there's one solution there. And then you have things like Facebook groups and meetups, where it's in a public forum, but it doesn't really allow for that one-on-one connection, but there's those conversations going on. So what we plan to do with Beeline is kind of mobilize all the these solutions into the one platform and bring all these users onto the one platform as well. And I think that for us, it's also about creating a safe and private online community that women of colour can access, that's specifically catered to them, and being able to market it that way and really get people coming through that way. And also through our freemium business model, we also have that ability to kind of build a viral platform without charging people and really showing our value, and then getting people into that paid customer.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really tricky. I don't have a good answer as to the perfect way to do it. And I think the other question I wanted to ask, I was going to ask the question about channel sales versus direct sales to Jen. So there you go. I'm pleased that Aprill brought that up. But the other question I wanted to ask is really is for the bubble tea team. And I guess what I wanted to understand is, like, how do you see the bubble tea market developing in Australia? You know, and like, what are the key demographics of the customers that you've seen so far, and how much of them are, I guess, let's call them new to bubble tea? You know, how much are you expanding the category of bubble tea consumers versus addressing the existing market category?
Yeah.
Hi, Hugh. How are you?
Good to see you again. So thank you for that question. It was actually really interesting when we first launched this product, because we launched it assuming that the people that would be our customers are the people who have been drinking bubble tea already, so grew up with it like ourselves. But we found in Australia was that a lot of our customers, about 80% of them, were new to bubble tea for the first time. So they've only had like 1 to 2 drinks before. And what we found, that Child Time's audience, the people that have had the drinks for the first time, were more used to just drawing single flavors, so original milk tea, your very simple fruit teas, versus a very developed market who are mixing flavors such as yuzu, matcha, etc. We think that if we started introducing flavors like yuzu and like the matcha, we would then attract the Asian market and the very developed market. But at the moment, our focus is very much on that 80% of the market who's new to bubble tea, because there's over 550 combinations. There is a drink for everyone. So we're very focused on providing education to this market. And there's no point at this moment for us to be competing directly with your gongchas, who are very developed in the market, that they're serving like the other 20% who's very used to bubble tea very well at the moment.
Awesome.
And it's not just the simple products that we want to sell. We are also we've already launched our merch, which is becoming quite popular. And I think that's with our brand. So it's different to when we go to the shops, because people can make it accessible and really cheap at home. And we've got so many feedbacks of people making it at home for their families and kids. So we're hitting a different demographic.
Okay, I think we're going to continue on. Bubble Tea Club, you might want to check your orders. I think you might have had a spike just from today.
If they use the word Atto, we'll be able to add more stuff in for them to try.
Here we go. You heard it here first. Cool. So welcoming the next group of founders for the next lot of pitches. So first up, we have Leeanna Kohn-Hardy of Finappster, a socially responsible investing made easy.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Shan. Hi, everyone. I'm Leeanna from Finappster. First of all, I'd like to start by asking you a question, actually to put a smiley face emoji in the chat box if you're making conscious buying decisions about buying ethical products. And this could be as simple as buying the eggs of cage-free chickens. Oh, awesome. That's great to see. Well, with so much information available online, you'll know how easy it is to find out whether those chickens have enough room to run around in. But that's just one purchase. Imagine if you had to do that for over 5,000 companies. Asset managers are having to analyze between 150 and 6,000 companies within any one of their portfolios. And their portfolios could range between 5 and 300 within any given company. Can you imagine having to do all of that manually? That's crazy, right? But that's actually what's being done today. Finappster is an online platform that asset managers can access via an enterprise license to easily analyze and report the sustainability of the companies that they and you are invested in to help them save time, money, and errors. By 2040, the sustainable investing market is anticipated to be valued at around $50 trillion. And this is being driven by the 67% of men and 84% of women who want to know that they're invested in companies that are actually making a positive environmental and social impact. This is also being supported by governments, such as those in New Zealand and Singapore, who are mandating greater disclosures in this area. We've validated the market, we've established a New Zealand-based pilot, and we have a working minimum viable product. With the regulatory changes that have just taken place in Singapore, we're in talks with asset managers there to establish a proof of concept there. We're also testing our growth strategy by talking to private banks with asset management arms and wealth managers. We're looking for introductions to angels and venture capitalists to help us raise a pre-seed round. My contact details are on the screen. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Leeanna. Really well done. If anyone is wondering where the bird's coming from, it is indeed my house. Thank you, whoever texts me, for notifying me of that. And now I'm calling up Marni Nicole of Fit with Her, Weight Watchers for the Busy Millennial Woman.
Hi, I'm Marni Nicole, the founder of Fit With Her, a modern and convenient Weight Watchers and personal training in one. I've been an exercise physiologist and personal trainer running my own clinics for 15 years, but after the birth of my first child and 14 surgeries, I was grappling with my own body weight. I felt awful, I was unfit, and my self-confidence was suffering. I knew what I needed to do, but there weren't any modern solutions available that would support me to make the food, exercise, and mindset changes in a way that fitted with my crazy life of mum and business owner. 2 out of 3 adults in the Western world are overweight. It may be very normal to be overweight, but that does not make it healthy, and it certainly doesn't make us feel very good. Here are our customer personas. These women are sick of programs that have restrictive diets and airbrushed trainers. In their hectic, multitasking lives, they want a simple, home-based solution to save time and, well, COVID. 90% of millennial women don't resonate with the brands their mothers did: Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, and old school exercise videos. I decided to use my knowledge to create a world-class system that would help women everywhere feel beautiful in their bodies. Fit With Her was born, an all-in-one patent-pending platform that provides on-demand food delivery service through the likes of Walmart, Tesco, and Coles, virtual personal training, and community support. No one else in the market provides this winning 3-pronged approach. We have a recurring subscription model. The average plan is $35 US per month, plus a service fee on food deliveries. I've been dog fooding the program myself and lost 10 kilos in 2 months and refound my spark. We also have some great testimonials. We will be beta testing in February from our email list of over 1,000. We will then launch into the US and Australia. Our system has the inbuilt capacity to scale to Canada and the UK. At Fit With Her, we are passionate about helping busy women feel beautiful in their bodies. We are looking for beta testers, so please go to fitwithher.com to express your interest and follow us on Insta at fitwithher.official. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Marni, and amazing journey you've been on. Welcoming Lizzie Dunn of Indie, a platform for Indigenous stories and languages.
Kia ora koutou. Hello to all of you. Ko Lizzie tōku ingoa. Lizzie's my name, and I want to talk to you about a hella exciting social movement that's sweeping the globe right now. Audiences, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, want to enjoy more of and connect closer to Indigenous cultures, and they're looking online for media to help, especially in New Zealand, Australia, North America, and Wales. This is great for Indigenous people. We want to be seen. So our creators are on it. They're making fresh, inspiring films, music, and books to help people out. The problem is mainstream entertainment platforms aren't picking them up. They don't have a place for it. So our content remains invisible, which means the movement's halted. Indigenous creatives are struggling, and Indigenous cultures are on our way to extinction. And on our way there, we're extending this heartbreaking socioeconomic gap on our way out, which is all a little heavy, I know, but don't worry, we have a solution. We're building our own entertainment platform. Indie is a subscription-based streaming platform connecting you to Indigenous films, music, and ebooks. No mai, haere mai, welcome. Watch our films and series, listen to our music, read our books, and pick up our languages through subtitled immersion options. We take 30% of subscription fees and pay out the rest as royalties. So we've launched and we're currently selling our MVP. It's the ebook section of Indie, and content for expansion is flooding in. This includes Taika Waititi's Hunt for the Wilder People, Tawaroa Kawana's latest album, and the Pacific Hero series by David Riley. Indie is going to change the world, and you can help us. Right now, we're looking for Māori, Pacific, and Aboriginal writers. If you are one or you know one, please email me and help us to connect. Ngā mihi nui, thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Lizzie, and a very important mission. Next up, we're welcoming Priya Anand of Jarvis Health, an AI-powered assistant for improving patient experiences.
Hello, everyone. My name is Priya. I'm the founder at Jarvis Health. My family back in India, my parents, my brothers and their families, which is 6 adults and 2 kids, all tested positive for COVID-19 recently. While in home isolation, the Department of Health called each one of the adults in my family to ask them, how are you doing? How are your symptoms? And how are your symptoms escalating, and etc. So that's about 84 phone calls to 6 adults for 14 days for my family. Here at Jarvis Health, we are building a platform which is to capture question and answers from patients. We see here that question and answers are fundamental to proactively identify risk of escalating health issues. At Jarvis Health, we will capture the responses from patients and convert them into actionable insights that directly integrate into clinical software. Here is an example of a WhatsApp-based check-in conversation that we are beta testing with a private clinic. Our traction, we have been working with the private clinic that I just mentioned, and we're also working with cancer care providers, and we're also having an interest from aged care providers. Our business model will be a monthly or annual subscription for healthcare providers and also a volume-based billing. And our ask is for introduction to healthcare leaders or providers, and particularly healthcare providers who visit patients' home to provide care. Thank you. This is my contact information. Please reach out with any questions.
Thanks so much, Priya. All right, that brings us to the end of our this round of pitches. Can I invite questions from the judges? You have 15 minutes.
Hi, I'm going to jump in first just to get Aprill. So I had first question I wanted to ask, well done again to all of the pitches. First question I wanted to ask was for Marni. And I just want to sort of understand the thought and I guess the thinking behind going for an all-in-one solution. I think it's it's one of those markets where obviously we've had all of these point solutions and, we've got now thousands of workout apps and things like that. We've got, all of the Weight Watchers and various different food options. So what was sort of the trigger and what was the point where you sort of went to that model of going, hey, I think what we need is this kind of centralized, sort of centralized option and all-in-one type thing, rather than trying to go sort of one by one through that stack or, attacking it in a different way?
Yeah, thanks for your question, Hugh. So I've been an exercise physiologist and personal trainer for 15 years. So I've worked with a lot of people over that time. And most people don't achieve results if they're only looking at one aspect. If you might see me as an exercise physiologist 3 times a week, which is a lot. And you're still putting on weight, or at least not losing weight, because you're not looking after the food side. And then, you know, you might do a diet option through your Weight Watchers or something like that. But if you're not looking after your movement, both your incidental and your structured exercise, you're not going to be losing weight either. You need to look after both sides of that equation. And then, of course, there's the mind side of it as well. If your motivation and mindset and support networks aren't there, whether it's behavior change in terms of health or other behavior change, it's pretty clear that you're not going to start getting traction unless you've got that support around you. So basically, my belief is that we will be able to grow because our clients will get results. So a 3-pronged approach, because that's what works.
Cool. The second question I had, sorry, and then I'll step back and let the other judges ask a few questions. So good job was for Leeanna from Finappster. How much do you sort of see, you know, Finappster being a sort of Morningstar-esque research product, and is this kind of like for the existing pilot customers? You know, is this kind of, you know, it almost sort of feels a little bit like it's saying, hey, we're going to do sort of like almost like a shared services model, right? Where it's like, okay, so if you're generating the data internally, then you're kind of saying, okay, well, rather than getting every funds analyst to run through the same desk research and then generate the same things, we're going to get, you know, one person and then share that data across many different, you know, funds, so that you don't have to do all of the admin work, which I guess to a degree is, you know, like to a degree the Morningstar business model kind of thing. So how much do you kind of see that being, you know, sort of an equivalent of that, and sort of what are your early pilot customers telling you in terms of where they see that value prop lying? Is it, you know, about saving time, or is it about having external validation? Like, you know, what's that balance?
Thanks, Hugh. Great question. And I'll keep it brief. One of the key challenges in the market at the moment around understanding how socially responsible companies are is the myriad of data out there at the moment. And talking to a significant number of asset managers, fund managers, wealth managers, you know, they just want an easy solution where they can look at something, understand it, and not have to drill down into, you know, the methodologies to be able to interpret that information before they can use it. So the first part of what we're doing is we're stripping out a lot of the you know, a lot of the complexity around that data, and offering it in a way that not only can they use it, but they can also share it. And shareability of information is another challenge that a lot of asset managers have in relation to accessing that data. So that's another key challenge that we help them overcome. What we're actually providing is, in the medium to longer term, is an ability for them to better know their customers. So understanding what data their customers really engage with, and ultimately help them refine their communications around that. Now, initially that will come in the form of ethical performance reporting, but ultimately what we're looking to do is also overlay communications with that as well, so they can communicate directly with their wealth clients and their retail investors around you know, the particular ethical values that resonate with those particular clients and investors.
I think there's a really interesting space to explore that I'm not sure anyone, maybe I'm just not aware of it, but I think there's a really interesting space to explore there in terms of, obviously there's a myriad of tools available for measuring someone's risk appetite. But at least from what I understand, there isn't really a whole lot of tools on the client facing side of things to be able to measure and generate that input of, you know, I guess, ethical appetite from, I don't know what word.
That's right, and that's another thing that we're trying to achieve as well, sort of moving it away from the black and white and the numbers, and enabling asset managers and their clients to have those values-based conversations. Not a lot of that is happening in the market at the moment, and we're hoping to, you know, help drive the market that way.
Awesome. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Aprill, Kylie, would you like to?
Sure, I'll jump in with Lizzie. Lizzie, Indie, what a beautiful product. And certainly I love the sheer audacity of the ambition. That's it's no small thing to start a platform. what I'd really like to understand from you is why you made the decision to, you know, kind of create a platform from nothing, rather than trying to slog away, chipping at, you know, kind of local content laws and the same arguments that have been used that are going to fix this space for so long.
Hello, Kylie. Sorry, are you talking about like funded options, or what are you talking about as a status quo? Sorry.
So the way that I understand broadcasting is that every jurisdiction has local content rules. So if you want to broadcast on an Australian channel, you have to have, you know, a certain amount of percentage of locally produced content. And that has, as I understand it, that's long kind of been the rally cry of people wanting to promote more Indigenous content on mainstream channels. But clearly it's not working. So you have decided to go and build a platform rather than rely on local content pushes?
Yeah, sorry, I understand you now. Yeah, totally. I think because I've got a background, I worked at the New Zealand Film Commission and I've worked at NZ On Air, so New Zealand slightly different, but same kind of rules and setup. And what I've seen is that in the past has been necessary and needed. And I'm really thankful for it because it's got us up to a position where we've had a lot of talent development. In New Zealand, we've got a lot of Māori kind of at the heads now of media organisations and in TV and everything. So we've got the talent ready to go, and we're ready to take the next step. I think that what we can see is like Māori TV, for instance, their audience is growing by 14% year on year. They've got 36% of New Zealanders tuning in. So to say that Indigenous media has reached its potential, just keeping on relying on government funding is something that I don't believe in. You clearly don't believe in it as well. We know that 4 out of 5 of the top Kiwi films are Māori films. So I just think we've hit that time now where the audience is ready for it. And I'm grateful to what we've had in the past, but it's ready to take the next step.
So there's been some pretty spectacular platform failures this year. What lessons have you taken from those?
Well, I think what makes our platform different and what the reason that we are the people to launch this platform is that because it's Indigenous media, it relies hugely on relationships, Indigenous relationships. So that's going to be...
You still need eyeballs though. You know, is the way that you're thinking about it that you are producing content for primarily an Indigenous audience, or you're producing for a global audience?
So the relationships are going to be with Indigenous content makers though, and then we need to do exactly what you're getting at now. There's a lot of mistrust. There's a history of mistrust in Indigenous media, and now we have matured and we're at a point where really for our cultures to survive and thrive, we need to bridge that gap. I'm Pākehā as well, so there's this big bridge that needs to be walked over, and we are the people to do that. So I've gone off on a tangent now, but relationships are going to be key. That's how we're going to start in New Zealand, and then as we move into other cultures and countries, I think that people will see that and jump on board as well.
Yeah, amazing. Best of luck. It's very, very important work.
Lizzie, did you want to quickly touch on your libraries stuff? Because that's kind of quite relevant to actually answering this question, like the relationships you have in the libraries and how you actually know this information, and also how many Pākehā are actually watching Maori TV is interesting as well.
Yeah, which I think is at about 80% of Māori TV subscribers are Pākehā. So our way into the market is actually through libraries and schools. So libraries and schools, especially in New Zealand, have a commitment to Treaty of Waitangi and just care hugely about having diverse and inclusive collections. So they have a really massive need for Māori and Pacific content. So that's where we've started. We're selling into libraries and schools to begin with. They then act as like negative cost lead generators for us so we give them a gated amount of content, and then individuals can subscribe from there. And we've got huge reach with word of mouth, and they basically become advocates for us all around the country. So that's our kind of our acquisition strategy.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll jump in. I wanted to ask Priya about Jarvis. And you talk about having a relationship there with some private clinics and running some WhatsApp bots there, which I think is a great idea. I can see that really working well, especially in aged care where it's hard to get out. It's easier to talk to, have a conversation through the device. I wondered whether you've got relationships with the clinic software providers, because to me that feels like, the next level is to create that path for distribution.
Like you can see already that this is a relatively newer concept or a newer way of engaging with patients for healthcare providers. So I have been in touch with software providers for clinical softwares, practice management softwares and EHRs and etc. And I've also been in touch with private clinics and also general practices and all of them. So there is two ways to approach, or actually there are many ways to approach this solution. So the point is about engaging with the patients through bots, through these health bots, but how we engage them can happen through a practice or it can happen through the softwares. So our integration point could be best likely to be the softwares themselves. So we've been working with both. So the cancer care provider that we're working with is a software provider, and we directly integrate into their systems, and patients will engage through these devices such as WhatsApp or SMS bot, and also we are integrating with Google Nest and Alexa. So it's a multi-channel bot, and we're also working with the private clinics who have Clinico as their backend clinical management software, the practice management software. So we are directly integrating into that one as well. So both of these will behave a bit differently, but ultimately the patient experience will be the same. And we're trialing out both the methods to see what will be the best or the most cost-effective or most efficient way of giving a seamless engagement to the patients.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. And Lizzie, I might come back to you because I had a question from our Australian Indigenous options. We have NITV, which is the free-to-air Indigenous channel. Can you see a relationship there to work together?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our values is kotahitanga, meaning everybody together. It would make no sense at all for us to become competitive in this landscape. So what I really want to do is partner with the likes of Māori TV, NITV, there's SC4 in Wales, they're all throughout the world, to work out how we can work together to bring more eyes to our media. One option I think is for them to have content for an amount of time and then for it to come to us, or we could also create channels within our program to direct people back to them. So just starting conversations with Māori TV to work out how those partnerships could exactly work, but definitely want them.
Okay, great. All right, thanks.
All right, we have 20 seconds left, so that will wrap up questions. And we'll go into the next session. I actually am getting texts, so I wish you could all see my phone for like offers of branding help and introductions for all the companies, which is very exciting. And I just wanted to see, there's something that's working really well. So if you have a question for one of the teams and you're in the audience, maybe just put it in the chat. And once a company is pitched, I can get them actually to answer it directly via text, which is quite cool and good engagement. Okay, next round, round 3. We have 4 companies, and I'm going to invite Donna McInerney of core.co, templates and benchmarks to help e-commerce businesses grow. And you can start whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Donna and I'm the founder of Core, an e-commerce business management application. I also have an e-commerce business in which I design, manufacture and market direct-to-consumer brands on several retailers in several countries, advertising and marketing on many digital platforms. It's a lot for a small, lean, international business to manage. It's easy to get lost doing things that feel productive and neglect the activities that drive core business outcomes. I've found it hard to find an easy-to-use, outcome-based platform, one using OKRs, the goal setting and tracking framework used by Google, Twitter, Spotify, Airbnb to achieve massive goals at great speed. Other e-commerce owners were also interested in an outcome-based approach, but they were not interested in learning about OKRs. Their eyes glazed over. The idea of learning about a framework was just not how they wanted to think about their business. They were actually interested in simple pre-populated templates they could use to guide them to be more effective. They were also interested in industry benchmark data to understand how their business was performing. They want something easy to use and understand. I've created Core as an e-commerce business management application that helps e-commerce owners focus the business on core activities that drive results. The Core workspace takes your business data out of spreadsheets and puts it into a dashboard. The app provides tailored e-commerce business objective templates and associated key results required to achieve these outcomes. Industry benchmark data is included to help optimize and improve core activities. For an example, an objective to increase Facebook advertising conversion would include key tasks to improve conversion and benchmark conversion rates. Customer discovery with the MVP indicates strong interest, and based on target audience feedback, the beta version will be the third iteration of the platform and will launch in around February 2021. The platform revenue will be based on pay per user, and currently it is estimated that there are over 1 million Shopify stores. We aim over the next 12 to 18 months to get around 0.5% of Shopify store owners as subscribers. We believe the future of effective and efficient e-commerce is based on achieving core business outcomes. Please sign up to be informed of the launch of the Core beta, and thank you for listening.
Great, thanks so much, Donna. Next founder we're welcoming is Jess Rosenberg of Mood, vitamins for women across the fertility lifespan.
Jess, you're muted.
Thanks, Hugh.
Still muted.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome, apologies. Hello, I'm Jess. I'm the founder of Moody, a subscription vitamin brand for women who are pregnant, trying, or who are recovering from it all. I figure if we're already labeled moody, we might as well just own it. So we're the gentle reminder that we're moody for good reason. Women and health providers alike. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why. Slideshow, apologies. Oh, there we go. Women and health providers alike report that maternal health routinely takes a backseat in pregnancy. The stories of what you're experiencing is normal, which were very later confirmed as not normal, endless. So I was suspicious. Is maternal health dismissed from the beginning? A look to the prenatal vitamin market confirmed my suspicions that quality, good-looking vitamins sold online are hard to come by in Australia. So I've set out to provide an alternative. The US is experiencing a boom in cool vitamin startups, and the APAC prenatal market's expected to show the highest rate of growth in the coming years. So we're creating good-looking, clinically formulated, synthetic-free and vegan vitamins that also support maternal health, and we're starting with the prenatal. Unlike the alternatives, we offer an online vitamin subscription model, and a new subscriber will receive a welcome pack, which includes our branded reusable storage jars and product and tearaway pouches. Our monthly refills will cost a member $39.95. 97% of pregnant women in the US take a prenatal supplement. A look to the Aussie market shows that around 300,000 women are pregnant annually, and these women require nutritional support for an average of 12 months. We've also noticed the whole story here, including those who are undergoing assisted fertility or experiencing postpartum recovery. And when we address these women too, our users could find themselves in a Moody supported fertility loop for years. Moody is more than a vitamin brand. We're a movement of women who are demanding more, and we're looking for health professionals and strong women to champion our voice. If you know of anyone who fits the bill, please feel free to connect us, and thank you so much.
Love it. Moody. Sorry
about the mute.
There we go. Thanks so much, Jess. And welcoming Lisa Verma of Nudge Me, connecting women with life and business coaches. And please remember to unmute.
Hey everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the founder of Nudge Me. About 5 years ago, I went through a difficult time in my life. I struggled to perform at a leadership position that I was in while going through a challenging time in my personal life. I needed to reach out for help, but I didn't really know who to turn to. A year later, through trial and error, I found a leadership coach who had a profound impact on both my career and personal life. I was lucky to have found a coach who was a good fit and who was able to provide that holistic support that I needed. Not everyone is that lucky. I hear from women all the time that a negative experience with a professional coach has put them off seeking help for years, leaving them struggling on their own. Talking to coaches, on the other hand, has revealed that coaches love coaching, but most of them hate sales, marketing, and the struggle to keep up a constant flow of clients. Nudge Me is connecting female leaders with certified life and business coaches. Our matches are based on aligning values, coaching needs, and personality. Our matching service is free for the clients. We bring value to the coaches by providing them with high quality leads. We make money selling these leads as well as taking a cut from a successful match. During Atto, Nudge Me has built an MVP to match clients, and we have made our first sale. We've built relationships with 15 coaches, and our coaches database is growing weekly. Our next goals include building our brand awareness to be known as the go-to place for women in Australia to find a coach. We are also very driven to create accessible models of coaching to give more women the opportunity to grow. Women are accomplishing great things while juggling careers, relationships, and families. Nudge Me enables women to find support that elevates their game while staying true to themselves. So, if you're a woman considering working with a coach in 2021, please join us at nudgeme.online.
Oh, you're right on 2 minutes. Nice work. Okay, and last in this batch is Bronwyn Smith of Promoloco, thoughtfully branded promotional products. Oh, and remember to unmute.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Hello, I'm Bronwyn, the founder of Promoloco, where we create eco-friendly promotional products. Australian businesses spend $1.5 billion a year on promotional products, but as a nation, we each use 130 kilos of plastic every year, and only 12% of that is recycled. Our goal at Promoloco is to keep your brand out of landfill. I started Promoloco 3 years ago with the vision to resolve the pain points of Aussie businesses that care about their impact on the environment. After working in this space for almost 10 years, I found that these types of businesses wanted low minimum order requirements, good quality products, and products made from sustainable materials. So we've created a business doing just that. So far, Promoloco's environmental approach has been well received. In the 2019 financial year, we saw a revenue increase of over 900% and now get more business from word of mouth referrals than paid advertising. During our time in the Atto program, we have refined our business further, offering a curated range of the best eco-friendly promotional products the market has to offer. Our new stock line of products will be required to fall under one or more of the following categories: reusable, made from sustainable materials, recyclable or biodegradable at end of life. Once you find the product you want on our website, you can see a price straight away, no waiting around for a quote. We also have our concierge service for those customers wanting help choosing the right product. We can deep dive into your brand, your audience, and find the best product solution. Promo Loco is not your traditional promo company. We are here to make a difference for you, your customer, and the environment. We believe that there's more to this industry than slapping a logo on a cheap plastic product. Collaborating with our customer, Promo Loco creates thoughtfully branded products that make a connection. If this sounds like you, think of Promo Loco next time you're buying promotional products for your business. Look out for our new website coming the 1st of February. Thank you.
Very nice. Okay, judges, you have 15 minutes, and audience, please ask your questions in the chat.
Excellent. I'll jump in first with Donna from Core. Can you just talk me through how much of a e-commerce business owner's own data are you accessing in order to deliver them the insights, or is this a template approach?
The first plan was just to do an OKR style template, which was pre-designed for the core kind of business objectives for an e-commerce business: grow revenue, increase profitability, make sure advertising is returning on your investment, those kind of standard templates. But when I did my user discovery, really the other key thing, that pain point for most e-commerce business owners, is the disparate data that they're dealing with. It's all in spreadsheets. So you might have Google Analytics, you've got Google ad data, you've got YouTube data, you've got Facebook data, you've got maybe Pinterest data, and none of it's really in the same platform. So ideally the platform would pull all that into a dashboard that makes it easy to understand, but then add in the layer of, well, my business objective against this data was this, and this is how we're tracking against our internal objectives, and then also how we are tracking against kind of industry benchmarks as well. So it's much more than a dashboard. It's a dashboard that's kind of a bit more dynamic and responding to your business needs, and also presenting to you how your business is performing against others, the whole industry.
I think so. I love this space so much so that I have recently invested in what is likely a competitor. I think the SMB opportunity to kind of give them bite-sized, actionable data insights rather than just overwhelming them and adding to that data fatigue. I think there's so much opportunity there. So I really like what you're doing. Well done.
Can I ask a question to you?
Pardon?
Can I ask what the competitor is?
Oh, of course, it's public knowledge. It's Armica. It does deep accounting integrations, so it makes your point of sale software speak to your accounting software. So it makes Square speak to Xero, and they have just launched their FitBiz product, which takes those analytics and and provides the insights that you're doing. So you do need to be aware, and there's plenty of other competitors in the space, right? And they are all coming at it from that data-led approach. So I think you need to just make sure, what is your angle? How are you approaching this? If you can't unlock that kind of personal data, what can you offer in exchange? How are you going to edge them out? Not to tell you how to beat my portfolio. Please don't go back and tell the Armica guys, anyone that's on this call.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to put you in a difficult position.
Yeah, synergies, not conflicts. We're an ecosystem, here to help. Speaking of things that I like, Moody, Jess, branding like Genius 101. That's just some epic branding there. I don't have a question, just so much as a comment on what you did really, really well there. Because one thing that investors get hung up about is lifetime value of customers versus customer acquisition costs, right? And when you are pitching a maternity supplement company, everyone's like, yeah, only 9 months, you know, like your LTV is going to be tiny. Like, you nailed that by just dispelling that straight up by saying this is a loop and we get them at the start, and you know, you keep them in that fertility cycle for a long time. So I thought it was really good that you address that. If I had 2 minutes to talk about vitamins, I would definitely mention margin in there too, because we know that the margin in this is super sexy. And while you've got everyone on the call, do you want to lead in with a little bit of the detail on your margins?
Yeah, so look, the pricing is something that I'm still fine tuning because postage is my biggest problem, and just deciding what I want to do with that, and that's really going to affect margin. But looking at competitors that are really good quality, this is a similar price point that they're sitting at. And the margins can be pretty good once I do big orders with my manufacturer. So everything's made in Australia, and according to TGA regulations, which is the highest regulatory body in the world, which operates out of Australia. And because the ingredients are such good quality, everything's expensive. So at the moment, the margin's pretty good, but I want to be able to double it. So double the cost to what it will cost to sell. So I'm working on that once I have a larger order, which will be hopefully in the second batch, and also once I add the additional products. So there are some complementary products for the prenatal vitamin, which will be the second lot to come out, and then the loop will start, and the formulations are already there and approved to tap into those. And I think that's when the margins are much, much better for everyone. Hopefully. Yeah,
it's good. It's good.
Thank you.
While we're talking to Jess, I just wanted to jump in. Also love the Moody movement. I think it's awesome. I love the branding and everything. I do want to raise the uncomfortable truth, because you're talking about a subscription product, and we're talking about something that people have they don't succeed at various points along that journey, and sometimes more than once, and it can be a fairly grief-stricken thing to have to deal with, to cancel a subscription that's related to this sort of thing. Have you given any thought to your messaging strategy around that stuff?
Yeah, and so I'm actually having consultations with women who are having difficulty conceiving, and one in particular who's very close to my heart, who's been in this loop but stuck at one point for years. I won't even say how many years. And I feel like what I really want for our brand to be the point of difference is that it's an accessible and welcoming space for everybody in that cycle. I know that, yeah, the feedback I've received is that other prenatal spaces are very much targeting with imagery and everything else, a woman who's successful early on in pregnancy. And so I'm hopeful that in these consultations, and that's why the website's not live yet, it's actually 100% made and ready to go, but we're tweaking words and images to make sure it's a welcoming space for everyone and accessible for everyone, being for all women who are in this journey. Then I want to be true to that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's good to know you've been thinking about the whole experience. Yeah. Okay, cool. The other question I had was for Bronwyn, Promo Loco. Love what you're doing. I've worked in the conference space, and I've been an event manager, not an event manager, I've been a conference director and worked with event managers for a few years. And the tote bag with the plastic crap has been one of our burdens, trying to figure out what to do, because often delegates will just keep their drink bottle and hoik the rest. So have you got relationships with the event managers?
Yes, I do. So we work with a lot of fundraisers, like big fundraisers like Dementia Australia, and a few event management companies as well. So yeah, we hear we talk to them regularly about what their pain points are around, you know, whether or not tote bags and trade show bags are even relevant anymore, because people do that. And we work with them to create the new message that less is more, and for them to invest in, you know, a couple of really good things and a sustainable kind of tote bag, and then, you know, get rid of all the excessive plastic and paper and go more digital as well.
Yeah, I love the slide with the guidance, like, you know, the types of things that make sense for promo loco, and yeah, it was really encouraging that there's more out there now for, you know, those event managers to choose from. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That's it from me, I think, at this stage.
I will hold my questions. I actually was going to ask exactly the same question to Bronwyn, so there you go. So I will hold my questions, knowing that otherwise we'll run over time. So.
Oh, we've still got 4 minutes, judges.
4 minutes. Oh my God, thank God. Okay, so I had a question for Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Nice pitch. Just, I guess, a quick question for you. Like, in terms of those early users that you found, and kind of, I guess, the early coaches as well. I know that you've sort of said that, you know, you're sort of focused on both life and business coaching. Do you see that as something where, or I guess, are your users and coaches, do they see that as something where that's a single coach, or they see it as different coaches? And sort of what's that mix of, I guess, the, you know, sort of like the job to be done, the coaching job to be done, that you see your early sort of customers and coaches looking for?
Yeah, so I think that your question is sort of a reason why I targeted women specifically, because it seems like women really need that sort of holistic coaching, where, you know, they might have challenges, you know, within their leadership position, or, you know, within their work or business, but it tends to be always tied with, you know, other things that are going on within their lives. So it's definitely kind of finding these people that could give this sort of holistic look. Yeah.
Awesome. And of the coaches that you've been talking with, I think 10 from memory, 10, 15?
It's about 15, yeah.
Yeah, so of those coaches, like, where have they previously been getting a lot of their leads from? Like, what's the sort of, you know, what are you sort of changing in that sense?
Yeah, so I think a lot of their efforts go to their own marketing efforts, and, you know, social media, Instagram, just being constantly visible there. I guess these are the types of coaches that I'm also targeting, that are sort of out there on their own, who are not in the corporate space, where it's a little bit easier. You know, you might be working with, you know, a couple of big organizations, and you know, you don't really need to do that sales work there that way.
Awesome. Good luck with the launch, and congratulations on the first sale. The first sale is always the most satisfying.
Thank you.
Always. And I sort of wanted to have one question to Bronwyn. How much do you sort of see Promo Loco being something where, like, obviously there's, you know, 1,000,001 promotional products companies, and really it's sort of like, or at least from the customer lens, it feels like ultimately the suppliers are all the same, right? And so really it's just sort of like everyone's just putting their own sort of website front end on effectively some sort of supplier, often offshore, not always. How much do you sort of see sort of the eco-friendly messaging as being a sort of fresh marketing angle, or do you see this as something where, you know, are you sort of seeing this as something where you're hoping to shift the existing spend, or are you sort of seeing it being able to go, well, how do we capture, you know, new businesses that are looking at promotional goods as a marketing channel, and sort of how do you see that working out?
Yeah, so I feel like it should just be, on my opinion, I feel like that's just where we're going. Like, people aren't silly. Like, they want more sustainable options in every, not just promotional products, but every aspect of their life. Like, people are becoming more conscious of it. So I think we're just trying to lead that movement. And, you know, we're coming from it from a creative point of view as well. It's not just brown notebooks that are made from recycled materials. There's color, and we're fun and exciting too. So we're just trying to, lead kind of, we want everyone to just, you know, like, that's just where we're going kind of thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, very exciting. And I agree that I agree with April's question that conferences are full of junk. I think I've got a pile of junk somewhere behind me in one of these cupboards that's probably conference crap from many years. So I agree that we definitely need to see some addressing. And I think April's point of heading towards conference organizers and trying to sort of deliver that centralized solution, you know, is also a really good opportunity, because, you know, the other thing that I've certainly had the experience of from a customer lens, you know, is the absolute nightmare of getting promotional goods to and from conference venues and organizing all of that. And it's a nightmare. So I think there's an interesting opportunity to be able to actually do the sale at the conference organizer level and then structure it out that way.
Yeah, even having kind of having it delivered to somebody at their home instead of having it given to them at the event, so that it could be a follow-up pack as opposed to a on the day kind of thing.
There's all kinds of interesting opportunity, you know, like the thing that sponsorship managers at conferences care about is having like more options to offer sponsors in prospectuses. So anything you can create in that space, whether it's like, hey, here's a really easy thing that will actually print precisely the number of attendees, you know, or whatever it is, all those kinds of stuff, anything that the sponsorship manager can stick on their proposals and things like that is of huge value to the conference organizers and the sponsors, the sponsorship people. And so, you know, definitely sort of like experiment with those and work with the sponsorship people and the conference organizers, because they're always looking for new and fresh ideas, you know, about how they can sort of deliver value and how they can help brands be able to discover new ways of reaching the conference attendees.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
That's it from me.
Awesome. Sounds like we might be moving on to the final round of pitches. Thanks for sticking with us. Okay, inviting Elizabeth Knight of Purposeful, helping school leavers find direction, purpose, and work.
Right, g'day everybody. My name is Elizabeth. I'm the founder of Purposeful, and we help school leavers to find their place in the world. But what I do is not nearly as important as why I do it. And when I graduated from high school 4 years ago now, the world was my oyster on paper. I had a shiny 99 ATAR and I could choose any path that I wanted for my future. But the problem was that in the time it had taken me to achieve that traditional success, I had become further from knowing who I was or what I wanted to do more than ever. And like many school leavers, I entered life after graduation, feeling completely lost, directionless, and alone. I was not actually alone though. In fact, 1 in 2 young Aussies say that this is their biggest problem. That was pre-COVID. And for many 17-year-olds, figuring out your life after school is the biggest and most painful challenge that they've experienced up until that point. Our solution and our long-term vision is truly to be what young people can fall back on at any point in their journey when they're feeling lost or unsure. We're there to redirect you towards a more meaningful path. We're starting out with our on-demand purpose discovery programs and a paid membership community, as well as a real-time careers advice service, the Lost Button. My goal long-term is to become the masterclass or Mind Valley for figuring out your future, where students pay a subscription fee to access our content ongoing. Our progress, since joining Atto, there's been a lot that's happened, but the things that I'm really most proud of are firstly hiring my team as of Monday, so that was like a really big milestone for me. Secondly, securing $50,000 of partnerships with WA's leading uni and private school to be able to launch a bunch of our content and trial it next year. And finally, the hundreds of quotes and testimonials that I've collected over the last 6 months, just like this one, of the impact that we're already having through our work. My ask today is for you to send any young people that you know in your life, whether they're maybe your own children or your employees, towards Purposeful. And secondly, if you are someone that works in education or with organisations that work with young people, to hit us up for a chat and see how we can bring more purpose to the lives of the young people in your world very soon. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Some really important work going on there. Next up, inviting Sophia Ritchie of Thero, an app that makes teaching music theory easy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia Ritchie, the founder of Thero, the new app that makes teaching music theory easy. Music theory is the language of music. It's the part that you write and read, a key skill that helps you write songs, improvise music, and understand the songs you're learning to play. And yet 80% of the 100 teachers I spoke to struggle to teach music theory. School teachers find it hard to keep track of a class of 30 with all different levels, and private teachers run out of time to teach theory during 30-minute lessons. Students find theory really boring, and the status quo method of teaching uses a one-size-fits-all strategy that isn't really relevant to any instrument other than the piano. Theoro is a web app that makes teaching music theory easy. Theoro is currently in closed alpha with 3 violin teachers with 90 students between them trialing the app. Students can practice all the levels on any device, and teachers can easily see student progress the night before the lesson, so they know what their students need to practice for the next week. Early feedback from students show that Theoro is way more fun than the textbook, and teachers love being able to focus on actually teaching kids how to play rather than just going over theory. New features are being added all the time, with the most recent addition of an overall score, keeping students coming back to the app throughout the week to practice. Theoro is on track to be released at the end of January 2021, with its first beginner course for violin students. Teachers will be able to purchase the course on behalf of parents and include the cost in their per term invoices, which is what they do already. The first course will cost $60 per student to unlock all the beginner content, bringing in revenue right from the very first release. 80 teachers have signed up through word of mouth and organic traffic alone. With the average teacher having 30+ students, Theoro is on track to grow rapidly. The language of music is universal. There are an estimated 5 million educators music educators in the US alone, and 1 million students sit music theory exams every year. So I'm wanting to start conversations with angels who invest in pre-revenue companies, and please tell your friends and family who are music teachers to go to theoro.app to sign up. Thank you.
Well done, Sophia. Very compelling, as someone else said. I stole their word. So inviting Emma Scoringe of Tract, a platform for unique children's care and therapy management.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Emma, founder of Tract. It's an app for parents with children of special needs to help manage their appointments, care and therapy requirements all in one place. Some of you will know parenting is hard work. So imagine navigating parenthood with a child that has disabilities. It adds unimaginable complexities. Add in financial pressures, with the costs of bringing up a disabled child being at least 3 times more than a typical child, the emotional impact on relationships and mental health is enormous. My second child was born with a rare brain disorder. We had over 100 general specialist and therapy appointments in that first year alone, as well as multiple medications, different funding from everywhere, equipment applications, and special dietary requirements. And all of these services were delivered by a mix of government, for-profit and non-profit providers. Parents like me struggle to stay on top of it all, and our healthcare system isn't helping us to do it better either. What this also means for parents is having to bring our providers or specialists up to speed, repeating our story over and over and over again, relying on a memory and a stack of paper-based clinical notes, because files aren't easily shared between health boards, GPs or care providers, and privately funded treatments sit well outside of the public system. There's 150,000 disabled children in New Zealand. This number is far higher when including developmental delays, as these stats are not formally tracked by health boards or government departments. The impact of this is the lack of funding available for struggling parents who require multiple support and multiple therapies. So Tract is an app I'm developing to help change the way millions of parents work with healthcare and medical professionals, making it easier through a single whole of life platform, but also to focus on what really matters, caring for your child, to give them the best life that they can have and reduce the longer term impact on the healthcare system. So far, I've spoken to 50 people with a positive response and over a dozen healthcare providers. With a UX designer, have started user experience testing with a functioning MVP and are looking to formally develop the product in Q1 with 20 beta testers ready to go. What you could help me with is connections to the directors of the New Zealand Health Innovation Hub and decision makers at health boards across New Zealand. Thanks.
Well done, Emma. And lucky last, inviting Isla Toyokawa of Websites, a wedding website builder and PM platform.
Hi everyone, my name is Isla and I'm the founder of Websites. We're a wedding website builder and project management platform designed specifically to help newly engaged couples plan their weddings. After a successful beta period in late 2018, we officially launched our platform in August of 2019. Now, when COVID-19 became a global pandemic at the beginning of this year, couples were forced to either cancel or postpone their weddings overnight. Now, while in Australia, weddings can still legally move forward with social distancing measures in place, there's still a lot of uncertainty with state border closures and international travel restrictions. And because of this, there are a lot of friends, family, and elderly guests who can't attend the weddings of their loved ones. Every year, there are 40 million weddings that take place. But next year, 2021, is expected to be the biggest year for weddings ever, with so many weddings in 2020 being postponed to the following year. To help couples easily communicate any last-minute changes and stay connected to guests who can't physically attend their weddings, we've introduced a series of virtual wedding features to make it easy for couples to set up a live stream on their wedding website so guests can tune in from any location, digital stationery so couples can send quick updates to guests or let them know if there's been a change of date without having to pay for additional postage costs, and a virtual wedding guest book so guests can sign and leave messages to their friends so that the couple can collect memories from their big day. Over 3,000 couples in 38 countries have signed up for websites and are using it to plan their weddings organically. And we're even gaining traction from wedding professionals who are using websites to work more efficiently with their couples. With so many of us having friends and family living overseas, we believe live streaming at weddings is a concept that was needed long before COVID became an issue and will be seen more often at weddings even after the pandemic is over. We're making it easier for couples to connect with loved ones near and far. And to wrap things up, I would love for you to share websites with your newly engaged friends so we can help make their lives a little bit easier during this ridiculously difficult time to be planning one of the most special days of their lives. Thank you for listening and sticking around to the end.
Very nice. Awesome. Judges, you have 15 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll start with Isla. I think we've met before, and I just wanted to say that's an outstanding change that you've done in response to this horrific year for weddings. I was supposed to go to Ireland for a wedding in April, and of course that hasn't happened. So there's been lots of reissues of change the date and save the new date. So I think it's an amazing work you've done there. So well done. The other well done I have here is for Sophia. You're way outside my angel thesis. So I feel like I should say no, but I really want to say yes. I think you've done a terrific job on the design. It's really hard to make something simple but effective. And from what I can see on what you've shown, I think you've nailed that. So well done and keep going. I think it's amazing. I think you'll go really well. I've got a question for Elizabeth. Purposeful. I've got a teenager, just finished year 11, a son. He's not the type that sort of self-selects into programs like that. So I'm just wondering, what's your plan for student acquisition? Like, is it through the careers advisor? Are you relying on the parent? Like, or are you going to try and do something amazing and creative through TikTok? So, and get the students directly.
Yeah, love it. I guess so on who our target students are, because obviously most students are lost, but we can't chase after all of them. And really in the people that I've engaged with so far over the last few years, the ones that we can really add value to are people who are currently on a path that they don't like, that they're really quite stuck and they just don't know how to get out of that, or they're somebody who is about to make a big decision about their future, so they're apprehending that transition. So they're kind of the key people that I'm going after at first. In terms of how we reach students, the last year or so it's been all organic referrals from students that have participated in our workshops and programs already, but longer term I really hope to bring that into schools and universities and leverage partnerships with both of those types of organisations, because universities really want to get into schools at an earlier point in young people's journey, and they also want to have a more meaningful offering, and similarly the schools want more engagement with employers and help in equipping students with future pathways. So I've really done a lot of work on building partnerships across both of those customers.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thanks.
Awesome. Well done to all the pitches, and great set to finish with. I guess I wanted to ask a couple of questions. Firstly to Isla with websites. Have you thought, and this is going to be like the most awkward question possibly asked, have you thought about the funeral market?
For our particular platform, it's specifically designed for weddings, and the project management side of it has a lot of event management tools specifically for weddings. So it's not really conducive to funerals, but
so putting the branding aside though, like, so one of the lessons, so recently attended a funeral that was live streamed, all of exactly the same problems, you know, COVID-19, all sorts of stuff, some face-to-face, some remote, all sorts of stuff. And the interesting insight, I would say, from someone that obviously doesn't attend or organize funerals very often, is that it's actually also that bizarrely underserved market and probably experiences similar, like obviously very different branding, totally different branding, but you know, experiences similar problems in lacking that way to coordinate guests, organize all of the pieces, and you know, it has a different timeline, I guess, and timeline may be a good thing or a bad thing, but also a little bit like weddings. I saw that your pricing is sort of $7,900. You know, one of the interesting things was like, you know, for example, for this funeral, it was like, you know, I think about $1,000 for them to live stream it. And you're like, that's quite a lot for a Zoom account. But like the customer is often very price insensitive. And so I think, you know, one comment would be definitely test pricing, because weddings and things like that, very generally speaking, quite price insensitive. It feels like 79 to 99 is too narrow a gap. I'd go like 79 to like 150 or 200. But separately, you know, I think funerals would be an interesting place to look because there's almost no technology in that space whatsoever. And I suspect that, you know, you may end up discovering that the problem space is similar, even if, you know, it has to be under a totally different, you know, totally different brand and all sorts of stuff. But I would definitely explore that because it's a, yeah, weird.
Thanks, Hugh. No, that's a really good point, because we actually do have a lot of people who reach out asking if they can use the platform for like an 18th birthday and things like that. So we can, yeah, that's something that we can consider for the future, maybe just repackaging it in a different way.
Yeah, and I think it's really, again, really, I think, and sort of one of the comments for all of the teams is really like narrow down, like what are those customer segments that are going to have the highest willingness to pay? Because that's always the hardest thing to discover is, you know, you always have these massive markets and that's really exciting. But it's always easier, I should say. It's always easier to start in the segments where people have a really high willingness to pay, because cash in the door and cash flow like just solves so many problems. You know, like you can have the wheels fall off, but if cash is coming through, you can hire more people. I had a question for Tract from Emma. Nice to meet you. We've actually just invested, not in something competitive, but, you know, within the sort of disability services, and, you know, in our case was therapy assistance and care coordination at that layer across allied health professionals. And their end user, I guess, is the parent as well as the child or person with disability. And so really interesting market. Again, you know, I don't think a lot of people have really attacked it. And I think you have a really interesting approach here in looking at, you know, how you actually coordinate that. But I guess the question I wanted to ask you is in terms of, you know, sort of what you're building and what you're thinking the MVP is going to look like, how much of that is going to be kind of what I'll call, I guess, the shared diary? And then there sort of is this shared diary approach that I think isn't really done even within the family unit, let alone, you know, with access to professionals.
It's one of the core features.
Versus something that tries to kind of be a little bit more than that, like sort of how are you sort of scoping that MVP and how much of that's going to be about the family coordination piece versus the care provider coordination piece?
Definitely patient-centric in terms of who it's been designed for. However, being able to invite specialists and other care providers into all or parts of it is the core feature. You know, I think that's where it is be one of its unique features. And I guess that's kind of the core problem we're trying to solve, having paperwork and translating that paperwork as time goes on into each new provider. You know, every government or health board mandated age and stage transition from early childhood to school to changing to adulthood is a number of system-led changes that you need to bring. You know, new providers come in and it's incredibly stressful for the child and the family and everyone else involved. In my own son's case, at any given time, we have about 12 to 15 people involved in his care. So it is about bringing them together and giving them the same information instead of us having separate pieces of information from everybody. Some of it even comes in the mail. I mean, what does that cost?
Yeah, well, and definitely look into the Australian market too. One of the few benefits of Australia is the NDIS is, for better or worse, put most things under one umbrella. So, and there's some very interesting, you know, if you want to get into the weird financial part, there's some very interesting item codes if you dig deep into the NDIS. That can be very interesting ways of making sure that you actually don't need to charge directly to the, you know, to the family or to even the allied care provider, because at least in our case, the NDIS picks up the bill for a lot of weird things around the edges.
Absolutely, and we have individualised funding here as well as government funding and all. So yeah, Australia is actually very similar. It would definitely be the next market because a lot of the treatments that parents go through and the emotional needs and what is the same. You know, no matter what the diagnosis is or whether it's diagnosed or not, early intervention spans a number of therapies, and it's just a specialist that might change whether it's neuro or gastro or whatever. So yeah, absolutely.
Well done. Like I said, it's one of those spaces that I think, you know, is both definitely desperate for some more technology, and particularly in that coordination space, you know, desperate for technology, and no one's really been able to really nail it, I think, to date. And there hasn't really even been that many attempts.
No, but it's kind of like work with disruptors or be disrupted, I think.
Hopefully. Healthcare providers can be a fun bunch to work with sometimes when it comes to technology. You know, you say that, and I've had to teach 21-year-olds to send faxes before. So,
imagine.
Hey, before we leave you, Emma, and great questions, Hugh. That was kind of the line that I wanted to take Emma and track down on too. So I'm the mother of a special needs child, and one who is, you know, not technically special needs, but just as needy in all the other ways that kids are. And I think there is such a huge market for this to be for all families, not just kids of high needs or disabled needs. And I think if you are targeting it to families of disabled kids, you have to work within the limits of the various funding regimes that are country specific. I just think this would be so much bigger. I've spoken about this with a lot of companies who are doing these kind of care management plans, and I haven't yet found one who is willing to solve it for everyone. Because you know, once you've got a high needs child, not dropping the other ones is every bit as important as just keeping that one, you know, managed. So, you know, I think it's great what you're doing, but, you know, ambition up, solve it for all of us.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, in New Zealand, we still get Plunkett books when your child is born. Like, is that not archaic? And that, you know, I was told that, you know, something like this in terms of managing those type of appointments and the repository system could work quite well as well. As would aged care entry and exit. I think if you were looking to white label it, there'll be a lot of people like me who are looking after their children and their parents as they age.
Welcome to middle age. Isn't it fun? But just changing track to Sophia at Thero. Can I ask you, what age is your product targeted towards?
So that's a really good question. At the moment, it will be kind of 8+, because that means that we can sort of target both adult learners or older learners, as well as those younger kids, but don't want to start right at the beginning with 5 and 6 year olds who have slightly different requirements for the app. So that's where I'm starting at. And a lot of people have beginners starting in that age range. So that seems to be good. But the way I want to roll out Thero is like a course by course basis. And one of those courses will be introductory material for like 5 and 6 year olds or even younger. So that's kind of maybe a little bit off in the future.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting because writing programs that keep kids interested are very different from programs that you need to engage adults. So it's great that you're thinking of them as a product rollout. The thing that I really liked about the way that you were starting was that you weren't relying solely on the parents to find the app, to pay for the app. You know, being able to target the teachers is going to be a really good way to get some early revenue runs and build that community around you. So I thought you go to market was super clever, but I'd kind of encourage you to think about, well, what's next, to borrow Aprill's husband's favorite saying.
Yeah, So I was a teacher myself, so that's kind of how I know quite how that kind of ecosystem works between the teacher and the parent. So yeah, thanks for that. I definitely will keep thinking big.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well done, everyone. Thanks for having us. It was a really, really good session, really good session of pitches to end on.
We still have like 4 minutes if you have any final questions. Otherwise, we can start wrapping up.
I'll ask a question then. I had another question for Sophia. Why $60? It kind of feels cheap.
So the way I came up with that number is that teachers at the moment per year, per student, would normally pay for a book, like a textbook. And that would be around like $20 to $30. I mean, the $60 per year is just to unlock that very basic, what I can get done myself as a developer in that first, in this first alpha or beta test. So I guess the pricing is very much could be changing, especially maybe to a subscription model. That's just something that I'll keep in mind. But the $60 number is just something that teachers are definitely happy to pay. Parents won't even notice it because of the cost of the lessons they're already paying. Yeah.
I guess my challenge is say like one of the benefits of bringing it up is that parents will notice it, and you want parents to I wonder how much it's like a higher price will actually drive more adoption. And I think that's where it's sort of like, that's always that balance, right? Is like, how do you sort of drive adoption and demonstrate value? Because I think for a lot of parents, and certainly, I think you said one of your, am I right? Early customers, private school.
Yep.
Like private school parents, $60. Not to be offensive to private school parents here. But like, again, price insensitive or relatively price insensitive customer base. And so, really kind of like make sure that you're continuously testing that, and seeing what's going to work best. And whether that is extra SKUs, extra products, or whether that's, like increasing base price, make sure you're experimenting with that, because it's very easy, I think, in those sort of situations to kind of accidentally leave money on the table. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And I had one final question for Elizabeth from Purposeful.
Hello.
I don't know where your box is. I'm sorry. Oh, there you are. I sort of wanted to ask, and so I don't have a child, so I can't say like Aprill that use a personal experience here. But I guess what I wanted to understand is, how do you sort of see Purposeful fitting in among whatever stuff the school or I guess the ecosystem, but primarily school-based, right? Whatever stuff the school currently offers. So obviously some schools, and it does seem very haphazard, and I agree with you there, because it's sort of like some schools do the aptitude questionnaires, some do careers fairs, some do some mix of all the above. There's career counselors, all sorts of stuff. Like, sort of, how do you see sort of Purposeful really fitting in among that, and being able to engage among those sort of different, those sort of different menu of options?
Yeah, it's definitely a very haphazardous approach, and I think for example, one school partnership that we have for next year, we're redesigning. They're using our programs for their whole careers ed class for year 10, and what I've really found in working with them is that there is a need for something much more holistic, but there's also a real desire in schools at the moment to bring together all these separate kind of things that are going on, from mental health and well-being to leadership and careers. Like, there's all these separate offerings and ways that businesses are trying to enter into the schools market, that's overwhelming and confusing for them, but someone that can really act as the connector to those things. And what Purposeful really does is helps that young person to find their own particular passion, purpose and interest, and then that enhances their engagement with all the other stuff that the school's already got. So it's really allowing that student to have a more personalised and meaningful experience in their final years of school. So that's sort of how we've sold it to schools so far. And then it's also a really great precursor to entrepreneurship, because many students leave this kind of program realising that actually I want to create my own way, and no one's really doing that whole entrepreneurship in schools thing from this perspective yet. So that's sort of how I'm entering in at the moment. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything to have fewer commerce law students?
I know, I'm both, so or was both.
There you go, look at that.
At one point, so definitely, yeah.
Well, congratulations and good luck on the big launch next year.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for that last batch and to the judges. And I guess thank you in general to our amazing judges who asked really insightful questions, gave you food for thought, and to our founders who have pitched. Well done. You made it. Good job. I hope it wasn't as scary as you thought it was going to be. And I guess to everyone who's attended, thanks as well. It takes a lot of confidence to bring your ideas to life, to talk to hundreds of customers and to build something when you don't know how, but also to pitch your idea or your baby in front of a room full of strangers. To all our founders, you should be really, really proud of yourselves for what you've built, but also for what you've learnt and for building your confidence too. I think every single one of you I've seen has grown tremendously throughout the last 12 weeks. And I haven't even seen you your whole life, so you must be doing well. And then to everyone who's tuned in, thanks so much for providing a safe space for us to showcase and share. That's really important. And I am going to hand back over to Kate. So thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Sean. That was brilliantly hosted. And also thanks again, Hugh, Kylie and Aprill. That was brilliant. And oh, wow, the pictures today were just amazing. So echoing Sean's sentiments there, it's been incredible to see everyone grow over the past 12 weeks. So I have one final ask, and that's actually 3 asks. We have Atto Accelerator now running. We've got 3 more batches. So if you are interested in applying, you can submit an expression of interest via atto.vc. So I'll pop the link in the chat box. Secondly, we also are realizing that we can help founders 365 days a year now. So part of that is launching an academy. So again, if you are looking to start, launch, grow your business, please check out Atto Academy, which will be kicking off in January 2021. And finally, we're also interested in starting a micro fund. This is very different from the levels that Kylie, Aprill and Hugh work out, but we really want to kind of start giving founders, say, $5,000 just to get started. So if anyone is interested in getting involved or giving us insights about the micro fund, or interested in also receiving a micro fund, that's or nano fund, please reach out. We're at atto@indielabs.co. We'll also do a follow-up to the event list today. So well done, everyone, and thanks so much again, and have a brilliant end of year and looking forward to 2021. So stretch your legs, have a lovely day if it's sunny wherever you are, and see you next year. Thank you. Bye, everyone.